I just want to tell you about, they've approved new boosters for emergency use authorization. And I want to remind people what Bill Gates says about the coronavirus.
At that point, we didn't really understand the fatality rate. We didn't understand that it's a fairly low fatality rate and that it's a disease mainly of the elderly, kind of like flu is, although a bit different than that.
That's what Bill Gates is saying now. That's what a lot of the conspiracy theorists were saying since the fucking beginning of this. That's what this show has been saying since we interviewed Dr. Robert Malone, or maybe even before that. And now he's come around. So why do I bring this up? Well, the Omicron booster shots are coming, and with lots of questions. So the real headline should have been this: FDA expected to authorize new COVID boosters without data from tests on people.
Wow. Wow.
That's right. It's only been tested on mice. Now put it in your baby.
What's a big... Mice are small, babies are small.
They're both small. They're both mammals.
Babies are practically mice.
That's right. The lack of human data means officials likely won't know how much better the new shots are, if at all, until the fall booster campaign is well underway.
Oh, so we are testing it on people.
We are testing it on people. We're going to find out. We're going to do. So
you're worried.
So people are not on board. Well, let me just finish this, right? So the U.S. Food and Drug Administration announced today it has granted emergency use authorization. Do you feel like we're in a COVID emergency? Now, we know that the Delta variant and the first strain of the COVID virus was much tougher. It is now, as Dr. Robert Malone had said on this show over a year ago, that this virus is going to mutate and become way more contagious and less deadly. That's exactly what has happened. Omicron presents in a lot of people the symptoms of a cold: headache, runny nose, sore throat, body aches. I've had Omicron twice, or maybe 3 times.
Don't forget your rebound from the...
That's what I was thinking about, my rebound. And that's what it was for me. For me, it presented in me as the most mild cold/flu I've ever had. Now, maybe that's because I had my zinc and vitamin D3. Who knows? But they're getting emergency use authorization. Emergency use authorization.
Like the original one.
Are the ICUs overrun again? Are there not enough doctors to treat people? Do we know not enough? Is it really an emergency? This is my question. But they got it. They got the emergency use authorization. For the BA.5 BA.5 boosters, the companies have submitted animal data. Not only that, they won't even release that data.
Wow.
Science.
They have not released those data publicly, although at the June FDA meeting, Pfizer presented preliminary findings in 8 mice.
I missed that when I went through the cave, that it was only 8 mice.
8 mice. They presented data in June. 8 mice.
I'm like a 10 mouse guy at least. That's all.
I got to get to double digits on the mouse. They gave 8 mices.
8 meese.
8 meese. 8 meeson. They gave him the vaccine with the BA.4 and BA.5 thing to go after that. That's what they did. That's what 8 mice.
I do think it's cute thinking about the mice with their little masks on.
Yeah. 8 mice. Compared with the mice that received the original vaccine as a booster, the animals showed an increased response to all that. Isn't that great? Isn't that great?
An increased response. Okay.
They showed an increased response. The federal government plans to make the boosters available starting next week. In advance of the FDA's decision, Dr. Ashish Jha, the White House COVID-19 response coordinator, he told NPR that the new boosters represented a really important moment in this pandemic. It's a really important moment, Kurt. That's the moment when safety regulation for medical-grade pharmaceuticals is officially as low as for workout supplements.
You don't know what you're getting in them things.
Gosh. They do more testing on creatine shit that
You know, I was just watching a thing because if you watch fitness celebs, they all take this stuff called SARMs, which are they're like a new kind of. I don't know if they're steroids, but they're like a PED.
yeah, synthetic.
And you can get them legally, but they're not approved for human consumption. You buy it as like, oh, these are bath salts or one of those workarounds, and I'm watching these people warn, like, people that take it seem like, hey, but they haven't been tested on humans. And I was like, they're talking about how bad the supplement industry is because they don't have to test things
on humans.
So, I mean, that's crazy. It's about the same.
Public health officials hope that these boosters will help contain a possible fall and winter surge. How will it? They don't ever say. And they don't ever say how it will help contain. They don't say. Well, here's what.
Wait, yeah. Hold on.
So
they didn't say the mice couldn't transfer the virus once they got.
No, they just said their symptoms were they produced. They didn't even say that. They said well. Let me read it so I don't get it wrong. Compared with the mice that received the original vaccine as a booster, the animals showed an increased response to all Omicron variants.
How would that contain it then?
So how is this going to contain it? That's my question. I would like that answer. If we waited so why do you got to, so this is emergency use authorization. This is not, okay? So if we waited, so who's saying this? William Schaffner, he's the professor of medicine at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, and he told the Wall Street Journal that if we waited for clinical trial results, thank you very much, we'd get them in the spring. You're welcome. It takes time to do clinical trials. Top of the morning. This is just an updating of previous vaccine that we used. I said, good day.
But good day, sir.
Good day, sir. So this guy's saying, no big whoop. That's what this guy's saying. He's saying, no big whoop. We can't be waiting around to see if this shit is... We can't see if this shit is safe in humans. We'd never be able to use it on humans. We waited.
It takes time. Clinical trials take forever.
I just like...
Thank you very much.
I like how he just says, thank you very much. That's so folksy.
Yeah.
Hey, we can't be doing science.
Thank you very much.
We tested 8 mice. Thank you very much.
Well, if you excuse me, I need to load a tiny syringe for that.
So this guy says it's no big deal that they're doing this, and we can't wait.
What do you? You're an idiot for even having a question about it.
Yeah, what are you fucking more? This is just an updating of the previous vaccine that that's just updating it, Kurt. What are you, a fucking?
It's like tech. You get updates.
You get updates.
They don't test them.
It's like when you plug in your vaccine tonight, it's gonna update. While you're sleeping, you're gonna wake up. You're gonna have a new updated vaccine from Apple.
I had to reload my vaccine.
Have to reload it. But then another doctor says this, and this is a guy who actually was on the FDA board. He said, "I'm uncomfortable that we would move forward, that we would give millions or tens of millions of doses to people based on mouse data." Who said that? He's Paul Offit. He's the FDA advisor. He's an FDA advisor, and he's the director of the Vaccine Education Center at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
And he's an anti-vaxxer? That doesn't make sense.
Isn't that weird? The head of the vaccine thing at the Children's Hospital, he's an anti-vaxxer.
Better get comfortable.
You better get comfortable with that. Is exactly right. And he goes on to say, he contends that flu shot, I don't know if you could read this, I'll read it for you. He contends that flu shots and COVID shots can't, meaning cannot, be compared. Because that's what people were doing. They're saying, well, like we update flu shots, we don't test those.
Are they mRNA?
They're not mRNA.
Oh well.
These are. So that's what people were saying. Well, we update flu shots all the time. You mean the mRNA? No.
Kind of like when we updated coronaviruses version 19.
Yeah, like when we did a little gain of function. When we did a little gain of function.
Think of it as gain of vax.
Gain of action.
Gain of action.
Offit contends that the flu shots and COVID shots cannot be compared when considering the safety of slight modifications without human testing because of the different mutations and protection levels. So those are two different guys. One guy's an FDA advisor. Holy F. Thank you very much.
We'll take it under advisement.
So the reason why they say in this article that this new vaccine isn't going to stop the spread, this is what they say, it isn't going to stop the spread, transmission, is because the incubation period is much shorter. That once you get the virus, you show symptoms like in 2 or 3 days. That's what the article said in Science magazine. And that's why it's not that's why it won't and then they go on to say that's why the measles and rubella vaccines can halt the spread of those diseases, Offit says. That's that guy we just quoted. Whereas in the case of COVID-19, even if 100% of the population were vaccinated and the virus hadn't evolved at all, vaccines would do very little to stop transmission.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
That is what that's what Dr. Robert Malone said on the show over a year ago. Now, YouTube has you're not allowed to say.
Didn't they just change it?
You're not allowed to say that vaccines do not stop transmission or contraction. So I'm not saying that. I'm just reporting that Science magazine said that.
Yeah, and I hope YouTube gets on.
And I hope YouTube gets on them. Because
it's dangerous.
I'm not allowed to say that. I'm just reporting that they said it, and I'm reporting that this guy who's an advisor to the FDA said it. I don't know what YouTube, how they feel about that.
Might I say he's pretty irresponsible because when the winter comes and we aren't able to inject, you're not able to inject your kids with something tested on a mouse.
We're going to have another winter of death like we had last year. Remember that winter of death? Remember you guys all went through a winter of death? Remember that winter of death? Mm-hmm. Remember the pandemic of the unvaccinated? Remember those people who said that? They all got COVID.
All those people got it 3 times.
Biden got it 3.
He said it again every time.
Fauci got it twice.
This remains. Now I know I got it again, but this
remains a pandemic of the unvaccinated. So this guy who's an FDA advisor saying even if 100% of the population were vaccinated and the virus hadn't evolved at all, vaccines would do. So this is the same argument I had with Graham Elwood when he came, my good friend and buddy of 30 years, Graham Elwood, who I didn't stop loving just because he got mandates wrong 100%. He got it wrong. No big whoop. But anyway, They think that if 100% in fact, the number that Graham used on the show was 90%. You think if I would have with 90% of the people would have got vaccinated, we could have got.
A lot of people said.
A lot of people said that.
They still think it.
That according to this guy, that's not the case, and according to Robert Malone, because it's a leaky vaccine. So that's also something they don't talk about. Leaky. They just tell you, oh, there's a breakthrough infection. Breakthrough infection, all otherwise known as an infection.
That really made me laugh. Oxycontin breakthrough pain.
Breakthrough pain. Yeah.
Wow.
So The virus lives in animals. In fact, they said they thought at first, they were saying they thought it came from bats. They wanted you to think that because they were funding gain-of-function research, which was making this virus way more contagious in a lab in Wuhan, China. Who was funding it? Fauci, the U.S. government, EcoHealth Alliance. And that's why they wanted you to think it came from an animal. Well, if it came from an animal, don't we have to vaccinate every animal in the world? Right? Or else it's... So that's another thing that people say, that because it has animal hosts, meaning the virus can live in an animal, that we will also never be able to get rid of it. I've been reporting this over a year, that you cannot vaccinate your way out of this pandemic. And that's the misinformation that the government and the media gave people. They made people think that that was the case. Now, and I've also been reporting since last July that everybody is most likely to get coronavirus. Like, no matter if everybody gets vaccinated, still everybody's going to get it.
And at least probably as many times as you got shots, it appears.
And after I said that, about 6 months later, Fauci started saying that. Yeah. That everybody's most likely going to get Omicron, going to get COVID. So they're still doing mandate stuff, which is just mind-blowing. So FDA officials resigned due to frustration with Biden administration pushing both booster shots. Did you hear about this story? I reported it here.
I heard on it here. That's why I first heard about it.
That's from September 2nd, 2021. Business Insider. By the way, hey, here, here's a story you never hear about this story, right, Kurt?
Nobody knows about it when I bring it up to them.
Nobody has ever heard of this story, and then when you mention it to them, they refuse to look it up.
Yeah, they don't want to. I don't need to see.
People don't want to know about this. So what? Some random people at the FDA resigned? No, it was the head of the frickin' vaccine department who had been there for 30 frickin' years.
Well, thank God they finally got him out of there and got some good people in.
Yeah. Dr. Marion Gruber, the director of the FDA's Office of Vaccine Research and Review, who's been with the agency for 32 years, and her deputy, Dr. Philip Krause, submitted their resignations over the boosters, and then they wrote a scathing op-ed about it.
Why were they the only ones? Is it because they've been there that long, so they're not like new people?
I guess they could still get their pension.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
FDA shuts out its own experts in authorizing another vaccine booster. This is from April 3rd. It's written by Marty McCurry. Dr. Anthony Fauci responds to questions about... And he's a professor at Johns Hopkins, the guy who wrote this. So you remember this. The Food and Drug Administration last week authorized Americans 50 and over to get a fourth COVID vaccine dose. Some of the FDA's own experts disagree with the decision, but the agency simply ignored them. That's from the Wall Street Journal. That's from a doctor from the Johns Hopkins University. But there's... And how soon do you need a booster after you get vaccinated? 2 months.
Huh.
After you get vaccinated, you should get a booster in 2 months. Now, do you remember when they rolled out these vaccines? Did they tell that to people that you're going to have to get a vaccine 2 months after you should get one? And then, every couple of months you should get another one. And this time next year, you'll be on your fourth dose. They didn't tell anybody that.
Well,
they
that
made it
Canadian
seem...
guy,
What's
that? That Vax Dad or whatever the Canadian guy was like, how many more we got to get?
I don't know. Don't care.
He was honest about it.
Yeah. I'm an incurious rule follower. I don't care. When has that ever backfired for people to follow rules blindly? I have some Kool-Aid for you.
There's smart people who are smarter than me, and I do believe him. The people were smarter than him.
Oh, I believe him. So after two, so can you, if they, so we all thought, I thought, when I was getting this vaccine, it was going to be like the polio vaccine. That's what I thought. I thought it was going to be like the measles or whatever.
And for some reason, I still believe that, even in the face of
there's a lot of
evidence.
people who still think that, Kurt. There's a lot of people who still think that.
Well, for me, it's more about showing I'm on the right side of history, which is clearly the wrong side of history.
Clearly the wrong side. So here's Anthony Fauci.
But she's had the flu for 14 days. Should she get a flu shot?
Now, this is what he used to say about viruses before the COVID-19.
But she's had the flu for 14 days. Should she get a flu shot?
Well, no. If she got the flu for 14 days, she's as protected as anybody can be, because the best vaccination is to get infected yourself.
And
So
she should not get it?
if she really has the flu, she definitely doesn't need a flu vaccine. If she really has the flu,
She should not get it again.
no,
this
she
year?
doesn't need it, because it's the most potent vaccination is getting infected
get one?
yourself.
But she's had the flu for 14 days.
That guy really but she shouldn't get why can't she just go get one? She doesn't need it. She already had the flu. She's protected.
Who sponsors C-SPAN? Even they have to.
And so they won't release the data. So just keep that in mind, that they tried it on 8 mice. I can't write a joke funnier than that.
Fentanyl had more testing on humans.
So they tested it on 8 mice, and they won't release that data.
Is it because the data is going to say it was only like 4 mice?
Well, remember the last time they wouldn't release the data? They tried to get Pfizer to release the original vaccine trial data for COVID vaccine. And remember then they did it. And then they had to sue them in court to get them to release it. And a judge had to order them to release the vaccine trial data. Is that how science works? Why would the scientists not want to release their vaccine trial data? Here's why.
Also, wait, isn't it also a little odd that the releasing of the data takes years longer than getting the data?
Then they compile the data?
They knocked that out with 8 mice in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, watch. This is what's often hidden in the data.
The first bombshell in the document is that natural immunity works, and Pfizer knows it. The clinical trial data showed those with previous infection of COVID had no difference in outcome than those vaccinated.
So that's the kind of stuff they would hide. Why? So they can mandate vaccines to make sure everybody, even people who already have natural immunity, still have to get their product. And there you go.
by the way, that's a thing we all have known for our entire lives.
Our entire life, since the beginning of medicine, we've known that if you get a virus, you create natural immunity to it.
I was stunned at. I told my friend, "Goes, I'm sick of. If I hear one more person say natural immunity,
Right?
Are you? That's
If I hear one more,
you just forget facts. You know?
No, because the man on the TV told them that was dumb to think.
My friend is blind. He didn't see that.
So, okay, there you go. Boosters all, go get it. So the first booster, 100 million Americans got. The second booster, it was only around 20 million. So apparently...
And maybe you can use it off market to stop your period.
So anyway, I have to make sure I give context that the vaccine is super great. The vaccine totally slows the transmission and contraction. And whatever they said here is wrong. I have to give you that context.
I got 2 quality Pfizer shots, and I have none of those problems of the Moderna people. I kind of blame the Moderna victims themselves for not getting Pfizer, to be if I'm being honest.
I agree. That's definitely not Big Pharma's fault. And the vaccine is fantastic. It's I think we're going to have this, we're going to wipe out the...
I think they should bring Johnson & Johnson back. Where a couple of mice die in testing.
Yeah, whatever happened to Johnson & Johnson vaccine?
Maybe they were completely safe, but one of them we all know isn't that good. And is getting...
That was the one that didn't use the mRNA, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Remember that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Johnson & Johnson, I'm pretty sure was on the old-timey kind of thing.
Oh.
But then there was problems with the blood clots, right? Is that why they pulled it?
Yep.
That's what Aaron Rodgers said. Joe Rogan's and Aaron Rodgers said they both said they were going to get the J. Then they pulled it because of the clots. But again, those guys are wrong, and the vaccines are fantastic, 100%, and they do a great job in stopping transmission and contraction. And if we just keep doing it, we're going to get out of this pandemic.
Test out
before
more
you know
drugs
it.
on 8 mice and see how fast we can get this stuff out there.
Let's see what we do. Hey, we're coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Detroit, Los Angeles, Spokane, Tacoma, Denver. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all our tickets for all our live shows. See you there.